Now talking about, like, your martial arts background and stuff, I actually did happen to see they posted the, UFC Unfiltered interview. So I heard
Oh, cool.
some of your
Yeah.
backstory, and it looks like you started training when you're, like, 10 years old or something around that age?
Yeah, it was around that age, man, and it started just because I was a fan of the game. My brother would always put on the boxing fights. It'd be so much, family, friends that would come over, and I always loved that element of it. It was a good way for us to connect and watch something cool. And I always thought it was cool. Like after the fights were over, and this was like before any ambition to do this, but like after the fights were over, it'd always be like a huddle of whoever watched the fight, being like, how did that land? Why did that land? What did they do to set that up? So it was always the IQ element of the game has always been interesting to me. And then I watched my first MMA fight, and I was like, this is what I got to do. Like, this is just so visceral. Like, the amount of violence that's being displayed. Honestly, this was really attractive to me. I begged my mom to sign me up. She finally relented after a while and signed me up to the local gym in Yuma, Arizona, around 10
Yeah.
years old.
And so you started with jujitsu, or was that like a MMA gym?
That was the cool thing, man. It was an MMA gym. So I started in MMA, which is a
Okay.
very cool. Like this was 2008, 2009. Like the sport hadn't evolved. Like there was no Fox Shield at this point. We were still on Spike TV. Like the UFC was at such a different stage than it's at now. It's grown so much, and it was cool at that time to have an MMA gym. It was ran by a guy named Camp Ferrari. Shout out to Camp Ferrari. He's a big part of the Yuma MMA scene. He fought Uriah Faber for the WC title, which was cool because I met Uriah backstage behind my uh before my fight. He was in the locker room with me with Slava Claus.
Okay, yeah.
So it sounded like a full circle moment to see Uriah Faber. I was like, oh, that's cool.
That's dope.
Um, yeah, so I'm not saying Kane's from Yuma, but Calvin Gastelum came out of that gym. That's right, Escudero came out of that gym.
Okay.
And it was a cool place to have in a smaller town, relatively high level MMA at the time.
Mhm. Definitely, because where I'm from actually, there's not too much high level, training.
Mhm.
So being that Kelvin and, Efrain Escudero came from your gym, did that kinda make you feel like, "Alright, like, whatever they're teaching me here, I can, like, take that as, like, that's some good shit to learn."
Yeah, I mean, I always believed in my coaches. I always had faith. But it was more so just like oh man, they're from like Yuma, like they're from like my little town, like and they made it. Like that's cool, like that. And then since she came by for a world title at like 12 years old, around that age, whenever he fought Brock Lesnar, that was like a huge moment too. Like, dang, now not only can you like make it to the UFC, but you can be a world champion to come from where we come from. That was super inspiring. Like that really grew the mustard seed of faith inside of me.
Yeah. And so when you started, competing, went from training to competing, what was, like, that first competition? Was it MMA or was it, like, a lot of grappling or
Yeah, it was mostly jiu-jitsu tournaments coming up from Yuma to Phoenix. I met Benson before his UFC debut when I was like a little kid coming
Oh,
up for a
damn.
jiu-jitsu tournament. Yeah, that was cool. I met like a lot of guys like Ryan Bader. Those are cool moments, coming from a small town, seeing like people that are in the UFC. That was cool. Um, yeah, and then I had my first MMA fight around 12, a little
Okay.
smoker at the gym. Yeah, with my buddy Abraham. That was a
So you
cool
had
little
some
experience.
smokers going on early too.
Yeah.
Damn, okay,
Not too
so
many though, not too many.
got you. And then I heard too that you weren't that good when you first started competing, there
Yeah.
was, like, a learning curve.
Oh,
When
the
did that learning
major
curve
learning
kind of
curve.
end? Like, after a year or 2 years?
Dude, I think my whole childhood, I could never translate how good I thought I was doing in the room to in the competition. I did pretty decent my last couple of years of wrestling in high school, but I never reached I wanted to be this champion. I wanted to win this tournament. I wanted to do this. Like my standards for myself has always been high. Like I always have held myself to high standards. And I just it wasn't happening for me. Uh, so I feel like I really learned how to be a competitor. I've always had a competitive nature, but I really learned how to be a competitor and flip the switch in my MMA career.
Okay, got you. Yeah, when I actually was wrestling in high school too, my first couple matches, especially when I got to the higher level, like in varsity, I was just getting like ran through. But I felt like I was a lot better than that, you know? But I'd
Yeah,
be losing in like 30 seconds and shit. I'm like, dude, what
uh,
the fuck's going on here?
yeah, it's
I gotta go to
frustrating.
like
Yeah.
the frosh off tournament the next day, because I can't even
Uh-huh.
make it to the second day.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's
Okay. And
funny.
then were you training a lot though, or like what, like the learning curve? Were you putting like your all into training, or was it maybe like were you only training like a couple days a week, or?
Yeah, no, like I trained pretty hard. I was pretty dedicated, but there's learning curves to it all. Like it was a lot of this is mentality and a lot of this is belief, and the belief wasn't there early on. It took a long time to develop that for like a variety of reasons. But yeah, man, it's just been a process, you know.
Got you. So you were training hard though. That's my main thing. I was wondering if you were training hard or if you were just kind of training a couple days a week.
I mean, it's weird to talk about training hard when it's like we were 12. Like we were training hard, but we're off the 12. We were fucking around. We are doing whatever, you know.
Got you. Relative to your age, right? You're probably still just focused on having fun and shit like that too.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, training hard. Wrestling was hard. Like wrestling's a hard sport. I'm really grateful to have spent as much time as I did growing up and dedicated to that. I feel like it taught my mentality more so than anything, and really prepared myself. And I was around a lot of great coaches and mentors as a young kid.
Okay. And then just because you said that you did well in wrestling like your last couple years, did you make it past like maybe a regional tournament or something like that? Like the last tournament of the year where you can qualify to go to state and shit like that? Like,
So my senior year, I think I was 14-2 uh in Arizona. I like beat the two guys that beat me. I lost. I was pretty close to being All American at Reno, which is a big national tournament. I was like one away. Um, but then before the state tournament, I lost my varsity spot.
uh,
Yeah, so I was like that broke my heart as a little kid. It's funny to think back on it, but at the time, like that was the world, like that was earth shattering. Like I had it written down, like I wrote it down every day. State champ, state champ. This and this. This is what I'm gonna accomplish. This is gonna be the leaping point to the MMA career and set me up right mentally, you know.
yeah.
And I was doing well in Arizona. I was doing very well in Arizona, but just lost to my own teammate at the time.
Yeah. Was he your same grade or was he like younger than you or anything?
I think he was a couple years younger, if I remember
Oh,
correctly.
okay, got you. And so yeah, you're probably just devastated because that's your last year of wrestling. You can't even like have another chance. Did that
Mhm.
motivate you though when you graduated and maybe like transition to MMA?
I mean, immediately after, dude, I was like, it's funny, it's so funny to talk about now, but like, I was heartbroken at the time. Like, it was a
Mm,
devastating feeling. So it was like there was a lot of self doubt after that. So it was a year of like, damn, do I even like, why should I even go for this? Kind of the mentality. Like, I don't have any evidence that really supports this besides just the want in me, you know? And that was like a little hurdle to overcome. To be like, nah, like I am gonna go for it. Like I see it so clearly in my mind. I close my eyes, I could feel the lights, I could see the arenas going, I could feel it. Like I know it to be true, and I know I will it to be true. I just have to keep going down that road.
hmm And so over that year is when you kind of were going through all that and it kind of made you go back to MMA then, I'm assuming?
Yeah, well, I moved from Yuma, Arizona. I was supposed to go to college. I was just gonna whatever. I had kind of surrender to the idea that all right, I'll go to college, I'll get a regular job, I'll do the regular route in my head a little bit, but just that nagging feeling of like, no, like I have to see this other thing, this dream out. I have to see it out. So like the week before college was supposed to start, I was like, I can't, I'm not doing it. Like I told my mom, I was like, I'm sorry, like, and that was a tough decision. Like education was the thing that was so pushed. Like my parents came to this country, and they're like, we came to give you a better life, for you to be educated, for you to get a good job.
Mhm.
You know how it is.
Definitely.
Um, and so that was like a tough decision, but it was like a decision I just felt like I wouldn't have been content with myself if I didn't. So I didn't go to college. I moved from Yuma to Phoenix, Arizona. Started working kind of dead end jobs where I kind of built up that courage to start training again. And once I started training again, I started training with them in my lab.
Okay.
Yeah, I think I was about 18 years old. I wasn't too long of a wait, but there was a good little chunk there where I wasn't doing much of anything.
Got you. So you actually just like moved out of your parents' house when you decided to pursue MMA.
Yeah.
Did they tell you like, "Nah, man, we can't like if you're not gonna go to school, you gotta like leave," or did you just choose to do that?
I just chose to do that. I just felt like if I stayed in Yuma, I probably wouldn't have. I probably wouldn't have done much. I just needed the environment change. It was too comfortable. Too
Got you.
comfortable to live at the time, live with my parents, live with my mom. It was just too comfortable. I didn't think I'd get to where I wanted to get to if I still said.
I feel that. You got a lot of distractions, probably like the homies you grew up with too in high school and
Mhm.
all that stuff.
Yeah.
How did you so you just got a job though and like lived on your own in Phoenix for a little bit, or
No,
what was that?
my sister lived out here, so I stayed with my sister while I worked at a warehouse, and then I worked at a hospital, and then I worked so many random jobs after
Yeah,
that,
yeah.
kind of figure out the schedule to play as much MMA as I possibly could into my day.
That's what you were doing. You're just trying to balance to like get to a point where you could train more than like you're working to some degree.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I was working like the weirdest hours, like 7 p.m. to like 12 p.m. doing
Okay.
like garbage disposal for like apartment companies, just random jobs. I don't even know how I got into that.
People don't know that though. Like when I was just graduated too, I was like in love with jujitsu. And so I was working at like UPS from like
Yeah,
3 a.m. to like
yeah,
fucking 8 a.m. and shit because
yeah.
I
I've
want
done
to
those
train
shifts
at
at
night.
Amazon. Yeah, I've done those shifts at Amazon too.
Yeah, yeah. And like, that's the thing about training is you can't really work a regular job like 9 to 5 and shit because that's like prime hours to train.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I
You
feel you.
want to be able to get a morning session, a night session. I mean, I was putting hours in the gym. Like I was putting a full 7, 8 hour shifts, like from 18 to 25. Like it was just obsessively repping out the moves over and over, taking as many classes as I could possibly, as many classes as I possibly could have.